Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Mike Force Podcast. I'm back. If you didn't tune in to the last episode of this podcast, the Sunday edition of the podcast, well, it's the biggest Preaching to the Choir episode that I've had. The Sunday edition is called Preaching to the Choir, where I talk about God, my faith, and things that I'm going through, difficulties I'm facing. A more vulnerable episode of the podcast. Really, of all the content that I put out. I have traumatic brain injury, TBI, as diagnosed from Veteran Affairs via my military experience. Lots of breaches, lots of concussive blast, a lot of exposure. And I have felt, whether it's CTE, whatever you want to call it, diagnosis-wise, that my brain's not the same brain that I've operated with my entire life. Forgetfulness, fog, aggression, things I'm not accustomed to seeing in my life through my life experience. This tied to personal dilemma and issues that I'm going through, including the fight over just being a part of my children's lives as their mother pushes me out. It's been hard. It's been difficult, to say the least. If you're not familiar with Ibogaine, neither was I. I'm more familiar now, vaguely. It derives from a plant, the bark of that plant that grows in Central Africa and has profoundly demonstrated 80 to 90% reductions in post-traumatic stress, depression, anxiety symptoms, even combating addiction. Same numbers. I mean, SSRIs, benzos, opioids don't even come close. And there are psychedelic characteristics with this. That was not my experience, as far as like the contrasting argument would be, oh, these guys are just going to get high. There is no getting high. There is no euphoria. In fact, it's, in my opinion, via my own experience, it's the complete opposite. It sucked. There are several organizations that you might have heard about, including the Mission Within and Marcus Capone, a former DevGru operators organization, who's trying to get legislation passed to help veterans like myself, but people as well. I mean, I thought about it from a addiction. I don't have an addiction problem. I've never been addicted to anything, never abused drugs, but there are many people, both in my community and outside of my community, that just have that problem. And it shows 80 to 90% of them, once they're done, they're completely done with whatever their drug of choice was. They don't have the urge. Now, there's many reasons for that. I can go into a little bit about that. But it also helps repair the brain. Dramatic results of people suffering from traumatic brain injury and CTE, and then having a future and a life, an optimistic prospect for a healthy life moving forward, while otherwise there is no option because it's degenerative, it's progressive. Your brain doesn't get better without direct therapies like this that are giving people hope. And yes, yet it remains on Schedule 1. Well, I could see why. Because likely it's the biggest threat to Big Pharma that's ever existed. Because if the cat got out of the bag and it was widely disseminated and known that the bark of a plant done through a wellness retreat could save your life, could reverse all the symptoms of depression, anxiety, and sustain for months and even years, as opposed to a pill that you take every day that has the benefit of 20, 30% with ill effects and impacts, including suicidal ideation for things like depression and anxiety as a byproduct of taking the drug, which is insane to me. So while more Americans suffer from different issues, including mental health, and they get on SSRIs, and these companies crush profits, you think Ibogaine is going to be a threat? For sure. Will it ever be approved? I hope not. Because I think the best protocol here is health and wellness retreats that are allowed to do this with therapy in mind, with psychological evaluations in mind, with checks and balances on maintaining safety protocols during the experience. And the default would be, oh, but the government and its control of it would regulate it and make sure nobody would be hurt. Don't buy, and I'm sure you don't anymore, that the government has anything other than profits in mind, and your health and wellness or your life is the last thing on its mind. I've begged VA to help me, and I've gotten no help. Sure, I've gotten prescriptions for medication, but I've received no help. Here's what's interesting about the mission within and this treatment protocol. It's not just for special operations veterans, NFL football players. I personally think it's for everybody. I'll link down the mission within below, but anybody could sign up for this. You could pay to go. Now, I'm very grateful for Frontline Focus, another amazing organization that gave me a scholarship to be able to go to this. There were multiple, half of the class was civilians out of the 6 people who went. And the realization for me, and I've always known this to be true, but was confirmed during this retreat, everybody's suffering in their own way. I don't care if you just played pee-wee football. That's a justification to go because you likely have some issues in your brain that need addressed. For sure, if you have any trauma, childhood trauma, adult trauma, if you suffer from depression or anxiety, I think you should give it a shot. Now, it's easy for me to say out loud that it's a transformative experience that's changed my life. But the reality is, I don't know. That's yet to be determined. TBD. Because I think, and I've been communicated this from all the guys, this isn't just about blowing the dust out of the Nintendo cartridge. I love that analogy. You know, you put the Nintendo game in and you start to play and everything's fragmented. You can't see a clear picture. But when you pull the cartridge out and you blow it out, you get rid of that dust, it starts you over. It still means there's a game to play. And you have to invest in that game, but it's given you a second chance. The amazing thing for me that I paid the most attention to was the promotion of neuroplasticity and the emotional release in one single event that drugs target in a single receptor. Meaning, like, drugs have specific receptors they target, and then you have to take multiple in order to get it fixed. This addresses all of them. And the research right now is showing that it enhances neurogenesis, helping restore neural pathways damaged by trauma and traumatic brain injury. There's even a component to this where they talk about it as a visual experience, which I experienced, of these sparks flying. Like new neural connections being made. Like a welder on a piece of scaffolding or a piece of metal chipping away. And that was my experience. And so I left with clarity. And even right now, have a new opportunity here, but just looking through my eyes now with a little introspect, things are different. Now, part of this is protocols like meditation, down-regulating via breathing techniques, but there's no doubt something's different. Prior to going down to do this, I had to abstain from stimulants, for example. And it's only when you come off the stimulants and you have a new baseline that you realize how negatively those stimulants affected you. Now, my excuse was taking the stimulants helped activate my brain. This caffeine made me more aware, more cognitive. But now that I'm back to base, I don't have a desire for those stimulants. I mean, I don't even have a desire to put hot sauce on my eggs. Not because I don't like hot sauce. It's just because I want to feel just what I used to feel like, without the ups and downs, the spikes and the withdrawals. I like feeling balanced. And for the first time in my life in a very long time, probably since my 20s, I feel balanced. I feel present. Dozens of clinical and observational studies, including those on the veteran community, have shown massive symptom reductions and long-term sobriety. So if you suffer from addiction, even addictions that you don't think are necessarily a problem, I think this could change your life. What they told me is the things that you do over the next 30 days while you have this neuroplasticity are going to change your life forever. That neurogenesis, that recreating new good habits and ridding yourself of old ones in the next 30, 60 days with hard work, because the work's really just begun, could set you off on a new path forever. I think Ibogaine is the biggest threat to Big Pharma in history. Federally, they tried to get it approved, and it was denied. Yet we have an ABC liquor store in every town that kills hundreds of thousands of Americans every year. Destroys families. We have Big Pharma that's allowed to just, on the minigun, annihilate the population to fix every single facet of their life temporarily with detrimental effects. You're fat, take a pill. Depressed, take a pill. Can't sleep, take a pill. that actually doesn't even benefit your sleep. You ever seen the case studies on Ambien? So at base, via the experience, I feel like I am a different human being moving forward, but I have to be careful. One thing it does very well is it breaks down this ego. And I've never thought I had an ego. I always said I'm confident. We all have egos. You're not immune. I don't care how humble you are. We all live our lives with egos. We also go through life telling ourselves to make sense of the world around us, this narrative, this work of fiction, that mostly is wrong. Trying to predict the future, assessing and analyzing the past. And if you have a very active brain like I do, you assess and analyze everything. Something that was said during the retreat, one of the guys, Charlie, communicated that he had heard from somebody else, which, coming full circle, all these things that are talked about in practice and meditation and Zen derive from ancient, wise human beings who figured it out. And the saying goes, feel your gut. Like, feel with your gut. Trust your gut. Feel your gut. Trust your heart. And question your mind. It's the screensaver on my phone because I need to be reminded constantly of that. Where most of my life, I've depended on my mind to get me out of situations that were difficult. Problem solving. Fixing things. I even asked the guys before we left, I said, I feel like I'm on a sedative. And they expressed to me, what if the feeling I have of feeling like I'm on a sedative is a normal feeling? What if, because I was conditioned and programmed to think in order to be optimized and efficient and successful, I must be reactive? Like Punky says, don't be reactive, be responsive. And I thought for a second, what if taking a nap isn't a bad thing? The guilt that I would normally feel because I'm lazy. I need to be getting after it. What if it's okay to take a nap? And just saying that out loud makes me laugh. Because a lot of you might be like, yeah, Mike, it's okay to take a nap. Well, that's new to me. Because it's not how I operate. It's not how I was raised. It's not how I was conditioned in the military. And for the first time, I'm realizing that my perception, my thoughts and ideas about the world around me aren't true. Now, don't think I'm just going to be derailed and I'm like, oh, Mike is a hippie now. He's going to go off the reservation. He's going to live in a tent or a yurt in the middle of the mountains. That's not going to be the case. I have a responsibility, and I love doing what I do. But I wanted to express to you my feelings on this because I think we're all in need of it. Another component of the experience was 5-MeO DMT. Not what I expected. Again, there is no getting high. For those who think it's about getting high and they criticize it, stop. It's not. It's not even remotely like that. I won't even spoil the experience for you, but what I will say is it will change your life forever in a very short period of time. To me, it wasn't a near-death experience. It was a death experience. It's the same feeling. Some would say, well, why would you ever want to do that? Because we need to do it. We need to find our humanity. We need to reconnect with who we are. We are so distracted and so pulled away from our own consciousness, our own hearts, our own spirits, our own lives, pulled in every direction, that we don't even have the time to feel. One of the protocols post the experience that was expressed by one of the instructors, Tyler, an amazing group of individuals, by the way. All of them were amazing. All the people I went through it were amazing. The food was amazing. I mean, there's nothing bad, and I'm a critic. I'll tell you what's bad. Nothing in the experience was bad. Maybe using toilet paper and putting it in a trash can because the pipes don't facilitate the tissue paper. I don't like that. But that's about it. Tyler said, when you get back and you reconnect, there are 3 things that you could do every single day that I'll leave you with that will improve your life and keep you accountable. Humanity. Reconnecting with humanity and people. Go out and talk to somebody on the streets. Pick up the phone and call somebody you love. Take your child, spend time with them being present. Humanity. 2, emotion. We're so disconnected from our emotions because it scares us. And a lot of the things that we go through, we do to ourselves from our mind, controlling our emotions and then writing it off, creating a narrative that's false. But when you connect with your emotions in real time and you feel, which is okay to feel, then you hold your soul accountable. Emotions. And 3rd, nature. I used to have a negative connotation of nature as it related to veteran issues because all I heard was guys saying, we're going to get these veterans out in nature. And I used to say, well, I've done that, and it's made my symptoms worse. I get out in nature, and all I do is think about war, conflict, depression, and I become more anxious because there's nowhere to hide. Now that I have the tools, getting in nature is different. Because if you have the tools to downregulate your breath and belly breathe and focus, then getting in nature helps you reconnect. I don't care if you walk out of your apartment complex and take off your shoes and stand in the bare grass and get grounded. Reconnect or connect with nature every single day. I think it will profoundly benefit you. It's something that I used to do. Now not so much because I was so busy, so consumed with being reactive and ping-ponging off the table. Not anymore. I'm tired. I am thankful. I'm humbled. And I'm excited about the future. If you're interested in donating to Frontline Focus or going on your own retreat or donating to the Mission Within, I'll leave both those organizations in the description down below. I appreciate you guys. Till next time. Peace.